Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Customer problem, right? It's very, very fundamental, right? And then it's like, what is their need? Then what is their want? Right? How can I make them as a habit later on, right? But that's what you start thinking with that mindset, right?
Hello everyone, welcome to the Product Management Talk, and I hope as always you all are doing fantastic. Abhishek and I started this series a while back, and the idea was that between Abhishek and I, we have over 40 years of experience. And it's always an interesting thing when you talk about how your life experience have molded your decision making, how that has impacted your product management, what were the learnings, what were the failures, and how we went about.
The Product Management Talk. Disclaimer, these videos, unless stated otherwise, are our own thoughts and ideas and do not reflect that of our company or third-party
Hey
sources.
Abhishek, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, how are things going?
All good, man. So Abhishek, we have with us a guest today, Ashish Gawali. I'm sure you know him. And Ashish comes with over 20 years of corporate experience. Ashish has had a very rich experience with over 10 patents in his name, and I'm sure there will be a lot which are in the queue. His experience from moving from corporate to a startup of his own, just like we discussed with our previous guest, Makran Chatur. Ashish is another great personality to get in, his views upon how things have changed for him. How does he see product management, and how does he see the things that have changed over time? So Ashish, welcome to the Product Management Talk.
Yeah, thanks, and thank you very much. Good morning, Abhishek and Anand, and thank you for inviting me for this talk. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for joining, Ashish. And, we really appreciate you taking time out on your weekend and getting onto this product management talk, to help us understand how about your journey. What do you look at when you look at product managers? Especially since you have been a engineering leader in one of the very best in class companies in the infrastructure space before moving into having your own startup in the big data space. So Ashish, let's start it off. I'm pretty sure you have been asked this question many times, but
Okay, yeah, sure.
how was your journey from an engineering leader to a founder of IOPhysics?
Yeah, I think it's been asked multiple times. Of course, the context vary, but as we know, right, life is all about experiences, right, and that's what shaped us as an individual, right. So primarily for me, in my corporate career, which is more than now 20 plus years of software R&D experience, I worked with product companies, primarily with Veritas, more than 15 years. I joined as an individual contributor in a group called Cluster Server, Veritas Cluster Server.
Yeah.
And kind of in this 15-year journey, I grew up to lead the complete clustering business, which is $150 million business unit, right? In those 15 years journey. And it has been fantastic, right? Primarily at Veritas Semantic, as you said, it's an infrastructure software company. Primarily, in terms of experience, right? It gave me how to think for building product. So that's like a product mindset, how to think about developing a product mindset, number one. Number two is, it's an engineering driven organization, right? And basically, of course, there's business driven and engineering driven. It's primarily what it was, wherein there is a lot of emphasis on generating IP, right? Differentiators through engineering, right? So what that means is basically you identify ways, right, in which you can create new ideas, differentiating ideas in your product, which can help you better compete with competitors, right? And end up also filing patents. And also, I think the other third thing in Veritas was starting teams from scratch.
Ashish, sorry. To the other side of the coin, Ashish, IOPhysics, right? Very interesting name. What was the origin of the name how did you reach to that? How did you coin the word IOPhysics?
Before starting IOPhysics, the idea was cloud is growing. How can you leverage cloud to solve problems, right? For secondary storage related problems, primarily focusing on analytics, right? That was the idea, right? And so how can you, so in the cloud, there are data platforms that are growing, right? When I say data platform, meaning there are object storage like S3 or data warehouses, right? Those like Snowflake, Redshift, right? So they are really, really becoming rich if you see it, right? I mean, they were not so just a couple of years back, but now if you look at it, it's really becoming rich, right? So how can we leverage those platforms and provide an infrastructure, right, for customers, enterprise customers, to do real-time analytics? Kind of that was a thought.
Yeah.
That was a thought. That was like a initial problem statement, right? And then that's how the thought started. The word IO physics came interesting. I mean, of course, so basically, I was joined by my colleague at Veritas called Subhash Raja, and he joined. So I started IOPhysics mid of 2018, July to be precise, in the month of July. And in few months after I started, Subhash joined in the role of CTO. And coming to the word IOPhysics, we always wanted to have a techie name. That is the one thing, right? Okay, it's a techie company. We are developing something which is around technology. It should be reflective of that. The second criteria was, okay, it should have IO. I mean, somewhere, if you look at it, we are data infrastructure guys, right? Right? So that way, IO is very, very core, right, to what we do, right? We relate to it, right? So that way, it has to have IO. So why not begin with IO? And physics is a scientific thing. I mean, we all love physics, right, in whatever form of shape, right? So it's about physics about IO, right? Like, think like that, okay? Or maybe IO is it's like a kind of word which is like an input output, very simplistic, but it can also mean data, right? So now think about it, it's like analysis or physics of data, right? So IO, you can think like data, and you're doing data analysis, right? So that's what you can expand.
It's like you're combining science with operations, or putting the science behind the operations, right? So
yeah, I mean, you can think like that. I mean, basically, but it was both art and science to come up with, because coming up with a name also is an exercise. It was a huge exercise because see, ultimately the other fact also was the thought was to create a global brand, because it's also done. It's an enterprise product. Enterprise product definitely will be a global product, right? It will not just be India centric. That way, everything will matter, right? So that's why the thought was, okay, how can the icon look like? So all the details were thought through as we started thinking about it, right? So basically, what will be the logo of IOPhysics, right? So a lot of thought were given, and then basically, and then that term IO came, and then like a color combination of IO, everything of that sort was the kind of worked with, and it came out, right? It's also, you can think like it's a brand building, right? Because with product, all those things, and it's part of product management, I think, what we are talking about here, right? So that's a thought, right? So from beginning, that thought was there, and we started like that.
I often believe that you have worked in a great company if most of your leaders have moved on and started their own companies, right? They have their own startups. And Ashish, one thing that you rightly said is essentially you start with engineering and then you move into business, right? Depending on the company, right? Some companies start with business and move into engineering, but product management. So how has your journey moved on from working with product managers in an enterprise, well-set companies, and into startups? So how does the role of a product manager change between these two equations?
So basically, it's an evolution. I mean, basically, the fundamental pivot there is, though you're in engineering, you're dealing with a product, right? So in Veritas, it's a big setup, right? It's enterprise product company. So I happen to work with great product managers, right? Based out of US, traveling to India, based in India, right? Some of them like say Gautam Ravi, primarily handling the SAMG portfolio, right, in product management. Right. Savin Pakala. Savin Pakala is the very first product manager, right, with whom I worked, right, to start like first kind of product from scratch, right, from India, right? And Sharad Sharma, right, that time he was the CEO,
Yeah.
was for 2 years at Veritas, and kind of he wanted to start that, right, something from India, and I was in the capacity of architect, but Savin was in the capacity of a product manager, and that way, that time I got really influenced by both of us worked to define what we can do, primarily around SAP ecosystem using Veritas technologies. But then I really got a fantastic exposure to product management and really loved it. Okay, we visited customer, and that when you start coming out of your kind of boundary of engineering, right, and start understanding, like like you need to know this pain point, like this is a problem, right? I mean, it's not that you think about solution, but customer problem, right? It's very, very fundamental, right? And then it's like, what is their need? Then what is their want? Right? How can I make them as a habit later on, right? But that's what you start thinking with that mindset, right? So that started, and it continued, right? And basically with product management access, also product management team getting built, right? That interaction was always there, and that way it helped us to know how it functions, what they look for, right? And basically, right? I mean, everything, right? From prioritizing a requirement, what is the business value, right? When you think about developing a feature, right? As well as when you move on, right, to do a beta, right? Then what will the beta be, right? In what right, what form and shape customer wants, right? When you get the feedback and quickly the Scrum, right? The sprint and demos, right? Where you get the feedback and quickly change the UX. So all that was happening, right, in that journey, and then that experience was getting into it. Okay, this is how they function. Just like it was on the enterprise product scale.
So, Ashish, sorry to cut you. So, you brought up a very interesting point. When you look at IOPhysics, and you brought up this, point that, we were looking, as an engineer, we were looking from the solution point of view, and then, you moved out and you started looking at from the business side of things. When you look of all of this in your current, role as a founder, I'm sure you being an engineer, naturally you started with a solution, but now that you moved into the journey, where do you see the importance of a business-based decision to product building versus a solution-based decision to product building, and where do you see these converging?
Yeah, so primarily, I think it's definitely business-driven things. Like, I mean, if you think about building any product, right? I mean, always the business angle takes precedence over technology, in my opinion. Though I've been a technology and engineer at heart still, but then that's at most important, and that I have realized through last few years journey very well, right? Basically, right, working for big B2B or B2C enterprise, it's always a business decision, which is fair. Then how can we develop product which can solve customer problem, and definitely will customer pay for it? Okay, so it's not, so it's primarily business, right? It's like, so if you put quantitatively, right, out of 100, maybe 30%, 30% is technology, 70% is business.
Ashish, how does product management translate for a startup? Like, if you're looking for a product manager, for example, what are the key skills you would be looking at, and what would your expectations be of that product?
So let me take a little step back. I mean, right, and typically, and try to answer holistically, right, this part in startup world. Primarily, see, of course, it's multiple hats being wore, and there's a kind of understanding of who will do what, right? So primarily, if you think about it, like take example generically, right? I mean, if it's a 2 to 3 founder company, right, one person, right, will take a technologist hat, like a CTO, and then code, and then do like all around technology and design, right? Right. So Subhash at IOPhysics did that, and then other person will take everything else, right? Right. So basically, if it's a 2-founder team, right? So I did that at IOPhysics, and what that means is basically everything around business, right? So right. So primarily, it's all about now. If we just try to focus, I'll not talk about finance and all that aspect, but if we just try to focus around product management, then it will be all about how should be the UX, user experience, right? I mean, basically having thought through the product, like initial design and what problem to solve, right? Then it will come down to what form factor of the product. Right? It's all everything. There's no dedicated product manager. Generally, there won't be. It will come mostly, in my experience, and I've seen it will come later in the journey. And I can share at what stage it could come. They could come, right? But basically, initially, it's like all founders doing it, right? Right. So basically, yeah, you think about how the UX UI should be, right? Whether form factor, where it's like cloud native versus on-prem, all that, right? You think about it. What will be the cost of it? Okay, how should I position pricing wise? Should I give it for free because you need to get maybe initial 10 customers? But yeah, I mean, like, but then will they perceive, oh, is it cheap? Like, what's quality is this, right? It's a very tough and interesting question to solve, right? Basically, it's both ways. And I had interesting kind of experiences, right, in this journey as well, because I ended up meeting customers also, right, to demo product. And also face-to-face discussion and getting feedback, right? So it's all that co-founders are wearing those hats of product management in the initial. Till the point, I would say definitely till the point you get a product market fit, right? Till the point, right, you get your MVP out, right? That's what you kind of work towards, wherein iteratively you have maybe a couple of customer engage, they give you feedback, and then you feel, okay, it's appropriate to take it, and so that they can at least try it out in their environment, right? And then that's where, kind of you deploy it, MVP goes out, and you start getting feedback, and then your aim is, can they deploy it into production? Like that's one of the important steps for you, right? Which we kind of tracked very closely. Okay, can we deploy this to production, right? And then once it's production, it's a good feeling, right? Because then you have developed a product, right, wherein it's really solving some business problem, right? Right, and then when you get such multiple such kind of experiences, right, from a couple of customers for different use cases, then like it's like you try going towards product market fit. Till that time, it's all I would say it's all founders. They are the person who are selling product. They are one who are marketing. So I did marketing, leverage Google ads, right, LinkedIn ads, both display search ads. Right, I mean, you type it out, you'll see IOPhysics coming in first, second. I could just run for 1+ month. The cost, cash was burning, but then I could see like customers coming from outside India coming to portal, but not getting converted, right? But then at least they're coming, right? So but what I'm saying is, it's all you can think. Okay, dedicated person, product manager should be doing, but it's like all of that being done by founding team. But then as you move along, as you start growing, right, and basically after product management, you have started getting scale, right, in terms of 10 customers. If it's enterprise, like 10, 20, right, plus, then absolutely, you can think, okay, can I have a product manager who can kind of, who can really be a dedicated person. That person can then become a chief product officer, right, in the setting, right? And basically then that person can interface with customers, build partnerships, right, and handle product marketing, right? Right. So all that thing can happen more formal way. But before that, like it's all founding team, right, including GTM, messaging, partnerships, everything, right? So yeah.
So Ashish, I think one of the things that you said, I'm kind of seeing now as a team. Makrand exactly said the same thing, that you get a PM in a startup once you have got your MVP hashed out. And thereafter is the time when you introduce, product managers. So I would say, what you have shared with us is very, very insightful. And I think you beautifully summed it in terms of how the first PM is also a generalist in the product space. So if we compare notes with our enterprise time, they're very, very specialist. They don't look at GTMs mostly. Forget about partnerships. I think in today's world, and Abhishek would agree, POs don't even know what they are, what these things are. They understand it conceptually, maybe somewhere here and there, but experience-wise, it's highly lacking. And some of the challenges that I have seen, and I'm sure Abhishek, you will agree, is that when you have such people driving products, the approach to product management is half-baked. The concept or the understanding of why I'm building this product, why this feature should precede the other feature, why this priority over the other, is somewhere I would say, mercurial, right? Even though they say, yeah, we are data driven and all that stuff. But end of the day, if you do not understand the entire ecosystem, it kind of starts to, break down. But that said, I think I'm seeing in my own experience that organizations are acknowledging it. And I think we have started evolving the product owners back to product managers to ensure that, and I think Veritas did it very beautifully when, Ranga ensured that we both have these, bi-directional understanding of not just what's coming from engineering, but also how the globally the things kind of interact with the ecosystem, right? So yeah, that's a good, insightful story that you shared with us. But why don't I give you, a quick 2 minutes where you can share with us and our audience what IOPhysics is about.
Yeah, IOPhysics is a cloud data analytics startup built for hybrid and multi-cloud. And primarily at IOPhysics, what we have done is primarily we have looked into solving in an innovative way. So what we provide is we provide a secure end-to-end do-it-yourself data infrastructure as a service platform, which we call IOPlane, right? Which is meant for data scientists as well as data engineers, so that which can help them kind of do data analysis in real time, right? Without worrying about the underlying data infrastructure, data pipelines, right? So primarily using our IOPlane platform, customers can primarily enable real-time analytics for the enterprise data with cloud of choice, right? We work with all three clouds: AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. We are also partners with AWS and Google. Also, Microsoft has acknowledged us as one of the innovative startups from Tier 2, and we are part of Microsoft for Startups program as well. So that's from the product point of view. And apart from, so primary use case is enabling real-time analytics for enterprise data in the cloud. Apart from that, it also can be used as a data management tool, right? To replicate data to cloud, right? And that use case could be, to protect data kind of from the DR point of view, right? From disaster recovery point of view. But that's a secondary use case. So that's where the our product IOPlane is positioned. There are two variants of it. It's one is IOPlane for cloud, which typically gets installed on premise, and you can integrate it with variety of data sources to integrate to the cloud. And the other variant is basically IOPlane for cloud, IOPlane data cloud, which is like a cloud variant wherein you can host it like a AMI kind of machine image, right? Amazon machine image or Azure machine image, and you can do a cloud native kind of for SaaS. Typically for SaaS application, you can leverage it, and you can replicate your data from any source to any target, right? So that's possible. And also in this journey, what we've done is we have filed 2 patents. Again, trying to cover the IP. We also have a kind of a Google-like in a search across clouds, right? Which is a phenomenal thing, right, for enterprise customers, right, to leverage. So yeah, I mean, primarily our customers segment is enterprise customer. It's typically meant for enterprise, large enterprise, as well as medium enterprise. So that's where this is positioned. It's a domain agnostic. It is because real-time analytics is a domain agnostic thing, right? I mean, basically, so it can be applied to healthcare, telecom, finance, any vertical.
So great, Ashish. Thanks for this insightful, discussion, and thanks for spending time with us in this episode of the Product Management Talk. Abhishek, sum up this discussion.
Yeah, and again, I think a couple of things to summarize, Ashish. I'll just nail it down to a couple of points. Is I think we heard about Ashish's journey. So people or product managers who are looking to move into start going to their own startups. I think one thing that is very critical is the experience that you build in a large company and how you translate that when you move into a startup. In larger companies, the thing is that you are in a very specialized role as compared to being a jack of all trades, wearing multiple hats that you have to do in a startup. I think to to be honest, and Ashish, what I think is like people are moving into cloud, so that's a huge place. That's probably a blue ocean that a lot of companies are exploring. So guys, IOPhysics, the link is below. We have Ashish Gawali over here. So they have built up a highly scalable, resilient, cloud agnostic data analytics platform, and which supports public and hybrid cloud in a very scalable and resilient manner. Reach out to IOPhysics, go to their website, find out more about the companies, and see if it's a good fit for you. Ashish, thank you for joining today, and really appreciate the insights that you gave us. Hope to talk to you later more, get you more on these episodes. So thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks again for inviting me, and it was a great pleasure talking to you. Also.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
It was always a pleasure.